Latina tutorials with Mr. K. This is Pensvm D. This video is meant to accompany the Latine Disco or the Lingua Latina College Companion text, both available from Focus Bookstore. You should complete Pensvm D after you've done the Grammatica Latina at the end of the chapter. We are in chapter 5. The first feature in the text that I want to point out is found in lines 3 and 4. We have the sentence Julius et Emilia tres libros habent, duos filios et unam filiam, non duas filias. So notice that we have the form duos filios, and we have the form duas filias. You are just introduced to the accusative plural in this sentence. You've seen the accusative singular of filios, which was filium, a son, when he's directly receiving the action as a direct object in the accusative. You've also seen filiam, a daughter. And now you see filios, sons, as direct objects, and filias, daughters, as direct objects. So filios is accusative plural masculine, and filias is accusative plural feminine. The next feature I want to show you is in line 6. And that is is multos servos habet. This is the personal pronoun, the third person personal pronoun is. It has a masculine, feminine, and neuter form. This is the masculine form. It means he, or it can mean it. He or it. Here it means he has many slaves. And in the margin we see that the he is actually Julius. It's referring back to Julius. The sentence before, Dominus eorum est Julius, their master is Julius. He has many slaves. He referring back to Julius. Is an irregular personal pronoun. It doesn't follow the same pattern as servus, the masculine noun. So you'll need to memorize this separately, and in the Grammatica it has some problems and exercises for you to do with this. But this does decline in the following way: is, eius, ei, eum, eo, if you follow the nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative pattern. And then ei, eorum, eis, eos, eis in the plural. So that you'll need to learn those forms so that you can form he, of him or his, to him, and by, with, and on, from him. The same thing is true in the next line of ea, which means she. It's the feminine personal pronoun from is, ea, id. And this one, Domina eorum est Aemilia, their mistress is Amelia. She has many slave girls. So you have the nominative feminine singular of is, ea, id, which is she. And it is also regular like is. It follows the pattern of ea, eius, ei, eam, ea. And you also see the same thing with id. And we think we see that in line number 22. And I see it is not. There we have the ablative singular. But it is present in this chapter. The form id, which is it. And id follows the same pattern of id, eius, ei, id, eo, remembering that the nominative and accusative are always the same in neuter forms. Okay, the next feature in the text that I want to point out is in line 51. So go to line 51, and you will see Emilia imperat, Marque et quinte, Juliam vocate. what we see here is the imperative of the verb. This is how it comes from the word imperative, which is a mood. A mood of a verb is one of those 5 features, 5 characteristics of a verb. The mood tells you how, the emotional quality of the verb. And this, the imperative is one of them. The other one you've learned so far is the indicative. Indicative just says things in a normal tone of voice, in a normal way, indicating facts about the world. That's why it's called indicative. It's just your normal speaking voice. The imperative is a commanding tone of voice, a commanding mood. Emilia imperat. Emilia commands. This is her order. Marcus et Quintus. Marcus and Quintus. And then she commands them to call Julia. So, vocate, how you form that, you take the stem from vocare, to call. You take off the re, and then you end up with voca. That's your stem. And voca is the singular imperative. If I wanted to tell one person, call me, me voca. But here she's saying for 2 of them to call, so you add this, you add the ending te. Vocate. You guys call. So that is your introduction to the imperative mood. One of the 4 major moods. The 4 major moods as a preview are indicative and imperative, which you've just seen here and in the previous chapters. And then you'll have the subjunctive in later chapters in the 20s. You'll get a new mood called subjunctive. And then you'll also see, or you have seen, the infinitive, which is considered a mood as well. Okay, the next feature I want to point out is in line 52, which is the very next line, where we have Marcus et Quintus Juliam vocant. Julia veni. So here we have Marcus and Quintus call Julia, and so you should compare that vocant with vocate, because vocant, they call, vocate, call. Both of them are plural, but one and both of them come from vocare, but we have the imperative form, you guys call, it's second person, you guys do it. And then vocant, they, it's third person, they call, indicative. Okay, the next feature I want to point out is in lines 45 to 46. So go ahead and go to lines 45 and 46. We see, in oppido tusculo est sine Aemilia, sed cum servis quatuor. And we see, we have sine Aemilia, we have cum servis. These 2 prepositions, sine and cum, notice that they trigger the ablative form after them. So we have sine Aemilia without Aemilia, and we have cum servis with the slaves. Both of these are ablative causing prepositions. There's a list of ablative prepositions, and then there's also a list of accusative prepositions. And you'll learn them at the ends of the chapters in the grammatica section. But you should know here that sine triggers the ablative Aemilia, cum triggers the ablative servis. The full list I use in my classes is ab, cum, de, ex, in, pro, sine, sub, praecoram. All of those trigger the ablative. And then there's another longer list that trigger the accusative. The next feature I want to point out is also in lines, it's in line 87. Let's go to line 87. Oh, I did want to show you here in these lines, motion away from Julia discadet ab Aemilia. This is another one of those prepositions on that list that show, that take the ablative. So Julia ab Aemilia, from Aemilia, leaves. So Julia leaves Aemilia. The Romans didn't just say Julia leaves Amelia, they'd say Julia leaves from Amelia, and so you get the ablative indicating motion away from. And here in the margin you also see the ablative indicating motion, or actually where you are, or motion away from. I mean out of, not away from, but out of. So Julia is in the garden, and Julia is coming out of the garden. Both in and ex taking the ablative. So ab cum de ex in pro sine sub praecoram. Those all take the ablative. Okay, the next feature is in line 87. So here we are in line 87. We see the sentence, Emilia, quid iam agunt pueri, Auggie delia, discede et interroga eos. So Emilia says, what are the boys doing now? Come on, or do something, Delia, get out or leave and ask them. So we have Auggie, which is happens pretty frequently in Latin literature. It's from agere, which means to do or to drive, and it is the imperative. It's the singular second person imperative. It means do it, do something, Delia, do it. And so when you do translate that, it's just emphatic and it focuses on the verb that comes after it. So I just translate it as do something, get out of here and ask them. So that is the end of our Pensvm D. You should actually go and